I'm sorry, I can't assist with this request. Staring as my parents' taillights disappeared into the night. It was August, just before school started. We were returning from one of those family bonding trips my mother thought we needed. But in our house, bonding meant pretending my father's tirades were wisdom and my older brother Tyler's every thought was brilliance. I was the quiet one, sensitive, soft-spoken, always in the way. That day, I spilled Sprite in the back seat. Tyler, 16 at the time, and already an expert at deflecting blame, smirked and said, "He did it on purpose." My dad pulled into a gas station, furious. "You're not a baby anymore," he snapped. "You want to act grown up? Find your own way home." At first, I laughed, thinking it was another of his cruel jokes. But then the SUV door slammed, and they drove off. I ran after them, shouting, but my voice vanished under the roar of engines. A clerk poked his head out, cigarette in his mouth, and looked at me like I was nothing more than another stray. That night, I slept behind the station's dumpster, curled against myself, counting the hours. I was 80 miles from home. No money, no phone, no one to call. When I begged the clerk for help, he muttered, "Ain't a daycare, kid." I didn't cry. Something in me froze that night. The part that believed family meant safety. The next morning, I found a payphone and called Mrs. Carter, a teacher I trusted. She picked me up, drove me back, and let me explain that my parents must have forgotten me. Her grip tightened on the wheel, but she didn't press. She gave me food, reminded me I could always reach out, and dropped me off. When I walked through the door, no one seemed surprised. Mom looked up from her laptop and said, "Took you long enough." Tyler muttered, "Should have walked faster." Dad never mentioned it, just nodded at me at breakfast like everything was fine. That was the day I stopped trying to belong. I went through high school like a ghost, ate lunch alone, studied in silence, and left home the second I turned 18. I worked 3 jobs, went to community college, then transferred to a university across the country. I changed my number, left no address, and finally learned how to breathe. I became a software programmer, built a new life, and even adopted a rescue dog named Leo, skittish, bunny, anxious, but loyal. We understood each other. I never expected to hear from my family again. But last week, a letter showed up. No return address, but my mom's handwriting was obvious, dramatic and loopy. I opened it slowly, half expecting some legal demand or passive-aggressive note. Instead, inside was a wedding invitation, Tyler's wedding. Embossed gold lettering, fancy script, the kind that screamed money and pretension. Tucked in was a handwritten note. "Thomas, we know things have been distant, but Tyler is getting married, and your presence would mean a lot to the family. He asked us to reach out. We hope you'll come. We'd love to reconnect." Reconnect? As if they hadn't abandoned me at 12 and never apologized. As if Tyler hadn't always been the golden child. I stared at a letter until the paper crumpled under my grip. I almost threw it away. Almost. But something in me paused. I flipped it over. Outdoor ceremony, formal dress code, QR code for RSVPs. As if I were just another relative. It would mean a lot to the family. That line stuck. I wasn't that disposable kid anymore. If they wanted me back in the picture, I had a few ideas on how to frame it. I didn't RSVP right away. Instead, I began to plan, quietly and precisely. Seeing Tyler's fiance's name, Sophia Kensington, told me everything. Old money family, high society, the type who lived for appearances. I looked her up online. Dentistry degree, polished Instagram, engagement photos under perfect trees, coffee art captions, Everything staged like a magazine spread. Their wedding website listed the venue, registry, schedule, black tie optional, shuttles provided. All the details of a life that excluded people like me. I read their love story section. Tyler wrote it himself, or so it claimed. Words about fate, growth, and how Sophia saw him for who he'd become. I read the line 3 times. "You've grown into a different person than you used to be." I remembered him shoving me into a pond at my 12th birthday, then lying about it while everyone laughed. Now he was rewriting history. That's when I decided I'd go. Not to reconnect, but to remind them of the past they buried. I didn't RSVP through the website. Instead, I had an old college friend help me get a custom suit, midnight blue, sharp enough to draw attention. I booked a room at the guest hotel under a variation of my name. A week before, I emailed Sophia's RSVP address. "Looking forward to the celebration. Please keep my attendance a surprise." No reply, but it was marked red. The day before the wedding, I arrived. The vineyard looked like a movie set. Rolling hills, fairy lights, polished beams. I stayed on the sidelines during the rehearsal dinner. My parents were there, Mom thinner, hair dyed, forcing her laugh. Dad, heavier, still pretending to be the provider. Tyler was glowing, charming, the center of attention. Then our eyes met. For the first time in nearly 2 decades, he saw me. His smile faltered. Only for a second, before he looked away as if I didn't exist. But I knew. He hadn't told them I was coming. I slipped away before the toast, adrenaline rushing, my plan only just beginning. They had asked me back into the family. I was going to show them exactly what that meant. She accepted it politely, but with some curiosity. "Tyler mentioned you might attend. I just wanted to thank you for coming." My guard went up instantly. "He told you I might come?" She nodded, her smile tightening. "He said there had been distance, but hoped this could be a step toward healing." I could have laughed, but didn't. Instead, I said, "He's an optimist." She smiled again, though more awkwardly this time. "Well, regardless, welcome. And if you need anything, don't hesitate to ask." She walked away, heels pressing into the grass. Tyler had clearly told Sophia's family I might be there, but not mine. Interesting. The ceremony itself was traditional. Gentle music played. Guests shifted in their seats. The officiant cleared his throat. Sophia appeared, radiant, and every eye turned to her. She walked down the aisle to light applause. Tyler stood beneath the arch like a groom out of a magazine, while I remained silent in the back row. The vows were brief, filled with nervous laughs. Rings were exchanged, followed by the kiss and applause. And with that, they were married. The reception was where things began to unravel. It was held in a glass-walled hall overlooking the vineyard, with chandeliers above and tables decorated with orchids and floating candles. Guests were directed to their seats with printed cards. Mine didn't exist. I walked calmly to my parents' table, where an empty seat was labeled family. I hovered. My mother looked up. "Oh, you made it," she said, sipping wine without standing. "Apparently," I replied. My father stayed silent, leaning back with a guarded expression. "I didn't see a card for me," I said. Mom shrugged. "Must have been a mistake. Maybe you're at another table. We didn't handle the seating." "Sure you didn't." I looked around. Tables were filling fast, laughter spilling everywhere. Tyler was across the room, speaking with Sophia and 2 older men in tuxedos. He noticed me, and instead of smiling, he walked directly over. "Hey," he murmured, "glad you could make it." "No thanks to you," I said. He exhaled. I didn't think you'd actually show. I asked Mom and Dad to invite you. That's different. My jaw tightened. You sent the invite expecting me to ignore it, didn't you? He looked at me, tan, stylish, confident, a man who had never faced the weight of consequence. I came to see if you remembered, I said quietly. Remember what? I didn't answer. Instead, I reached into my jacket, pulled out a photograph, and held it up. His face shifted, eyes darting from the photo to me. That was years ago, he said. Yes, and you never said a word. Never asked them to come back. Never checked if I made it home alive. He glanced around nervously. Thomas, it was one night. You were always dramatic. I thought you'd moved on. Moved on? My voice stayed calm. I'm not here to ruin your wedding. Relax. But I'm staying until the speeches. He looked unsure whether I was bluffing. I wasn't, because the best payback isn't loud, it's precise. The lights dimmed as servers cleared plates. Guests chatted, glasses clinked, a jazz band played softly. Tyler and Sophia sat at the head table under gold lettering. A man in a powder blue suit tapped his glass. It's time for speeches. Polite applause followed. Sophia's father spoke first, smooth, practiced, warm. He told stories of Sophia's childhood, joked about Tyler marrying up, and drew laughter. Then the best man spoke, light, funny, recalling college parties, Tyler's lack of cooking skills, and his luck in meeting Sophia. The MC returned, and finally a special toast from Thomas. The room fell silent. All eyes turned. My parents froze. Tyler's jaw tightened. Sophia looked confused. I walked to the microphone slowly. Some guests whispered, others stared, unsure who I was. I tapped the mic once. Good evening. I'm Thomas, Tyler's younger brother. Gasps rippled. Murmurs spread. He has a brother? I wasn't sure I'd attend tonight, I continued. I haven't spoken to my family in 18 years. Then I received a wedding invitation with a note. It would mean a lot to the family if you came. I pulled the photo from my pocket and held it up. This is me at 12 years old. The morning after my parents left me at a gas station 80 miles from home. I had spilled a soda. Instead of scolding me, they left. Told me to figure it out. They didn't come back. They didn't call. I slept behind a dumpster. A teacher picked me up the next day. I never received an apology, from my parents or from Tyler. Until this wedding invitation, I thought they were happy pretending I didn't exist. The room was silent. My parents looked pale, lips parted but speechless. I'm not here to ruin the evening. Sophia, you seem wonderful, and your family has been welcoming. Tyler, well, you've always been good at appearances. But weddings should be about honesty. And it wouldn't be honest for me to pretend we grew up in a home where family meant safety, not survival. No one moved. No one breathed. I was invited here as a prop. So this, I placed the photo on the head table in front of Tyler, is my gift. Then I walked away. No applause, only gasps and stunned silence. My mother whispered my name. My father half rose, but I didn't stop. I stepped into the night air. I wasn't angry. I wasn't shaking. I was free. Freedom doesn't bring peace right away. It leaves silence, the kind that makes you wonder what happens next. On the walk back to the motel, I replayed the gasps, the faces, the realization that I was no longer invisible. For years, I thought I was a ghost in my own family. But that night, I reminded them I was real, and memory is dangerous when others depend on forgetting. Later, A voicemail arrived from Sophia. Her voice was calm but unsteady. I wish someone had told me. I'm not angry you spoke. You deserved to, and I'm sorry. The first apology I'd heard in 18 years, and it didn't come from my family. I left early the next morning, certain my parents would either ignore it or twist it into a misunderstanding. But I knew the photo remained on that head table. Back home, messages began arriving. A cousin reached out, saying she'd always wondered what happened to me. Mrs. Carter wrote that she still remembered and was proud. For the first time in years, I cried. Real tears, not silent ones. My life shifted. I slept better, worked sharper, wrote more. Soon, I was invited to speak at retreats and panels for estranged children. Each time, I carried the photo. Each time, people told me, that happened to me too. My once too quiet voice finally found its place. Then Sophia emailed again, raw and direct. Did your parents really leave you like that? Tyler said it was complicated. But you didn't sound complicated. You sounded clear. Please tell me more. So I told her about the gas station, the silence afterward, the years. Her reply came the next day. I believe you. Tyler once told me he was an only child. They erased you. Now I wonder what else they've hidden. We later met at a cafe. She asked questions, listened, and admitted her greatest fear. What if they do that to our kids someday? That was the crack in their perfect picture. Not long after, a letter arrived from my father. You're bringing shame on the family. Stop this or there will be consequences. We gave you another chance. Don't make us regret it. It wasn't regret. It was a threat. Proof of who he still was. I scanned the letter, stored it safely, and called a journalist I trusted. She published my story, carefully fact-checked, titled, Left Behind. One man's quiet escape from a family that tried to erase him. The article spread quickly. Comments poured in from others who had been discarded or silenced. The most surprising message came from Sophia's brother, Adrian. I always thought Tyler was too polished. Now I know why. My parents are furious, not at you, but at him. They feel betrayed. Soon after, Sophia herself wrote again. I showed Tyler the article. He exploded, said you exaggerated, but you didn't. You didn't even share everything. He made me choose. I chose. The marriage is annulled. Thank you for opening my eyes. I sat with her message quietly. No celebration, no gloating. Just memory. The boy at 12 holding a candy bar, waiting for parents who never returned. Now, life went on. Rumors spread. Old acquaintances reached out in shock. My parents erased photos from social media. Tyler deleted his wedding album, stepped back from work. Sophia rebuilt her life. Meanwhile, I grew. I began working with a nonprofit for estranged adults. I started writing a book, Ghost Son, not for revenge, but for my younger self, and for others still waiting at their own gas station. Then, Mrs. Carter wrote again. She had clipped my article, hung it above her desk, and told her students the story, without names, about remembering those others forget. That letter made me cry again, but this time with release, because I no longer felt like a shadow. I was not forgotten. I was here. And when people ask how it felt to stand in front of my family and tell the truth, I simply smile. Because the best revenge isn't watching others fall. It's standing in the light yourself, while they struggle to rewrite the darkness.